Well, hello there. Welcome back again. It's been a while since we did our HC Highlanders live interviews, and today we're excited to kick this back off with a special guest, the latest addition to the Highlanders coaching staff, Coach Jeremy Bialek, who comes most recently to us from Trinity Christian, where he's been an assistant for the past 3 seasons, and prior to that, very successful, almost 20 years high school career in the state of Indiana. Coach, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jace. I appreciate you having me.
Great, and welcome back to New York. Kind of, you're not in New York right now, but you're coming back. We can get a little bit of that backstory. Talk a little bit about your background, where you grew up, some of your basketball journey, and how you ended up at this point in your career.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm originally from Syracuse, New York. I was born in Syracuse. Then I spent about, around about 8 years or so in Utica, New York. My father was a professor, and before he was a professor for like 31 years, but in the early part of his time at Utica College, he was a coach at Utica and basketball and golf, baseball, helped start that athletic program and college itself. So we lived like probably 3 doors down, if I remember right, maybe 4 doors down from Utica College. Then we moved back to Syracuse so that I could go to Christian Brothers Academy. And I went to high school, junior high and high school there at Christian Brothers Academy in Syracuse, New York. Moved out to Indiana to go to Butler University. And when I got out of Butler, I started coaching and was hired as an assistant varsity coach there in Indianapolis, Indiana. You've been in Indiana before, Jason. You know what basketball is like out there. It's a little bit crazy at the high school level. They call it Hoosier hysteria. And I was able to get involved in that right out of college. I coached as an assistant for 6 years, 5 in Indiana, 1 in New York when I was getting my graduate degree. And then from there, I got a job back in Indiana and started my varsity head coaching experience and was with it for 19 years. Had just a lot of fun in the program. We were not very good starting out. It was a building program. Every single stop I've had has been kind of a building program. It just seemed to be what I'm supposed to do. So God's called me into that over and over again. But at that program, we kind of went from just being a small no-name program that everyone wanted to schedule on senior night, if you will, and then eventually got to the point where we were pretty successful, won 6 state titles, 7 conference championships, the last 5 in a row in both those categories. Before I stepped away. And then we also played in a national tournament that was very competitive. I had high-level Division I players, some guys that went to the NBA, the names that you might recognize in NBA lore. And we eventually won that national tournament my last year there, which was just an unbelievable ride, upsetting the team that had won 5 out of the last 6 national championships. So very fun time in Indiana. But I felt like the Lord wanted me to lay that down and give that to my assistant coach who had played for me and I felt ready to take over. So I handed that to him, not knowing where I was headed. And under much prayer and thought, I had this opportunity at Trinity Christian with Coach Jason Hawkins to help him start to build this program at Trinity out here in Chicagoland area. And I really look forward to doing that with him. When I asked him what he wanted from an assistant coach, he said, I just want someone to mentor my guys. I know you know basketball, but I want someone who can help get our guys closer to the Lord. And that was very attractive to me. So I came up to Trinity. I've been here for 3 years as we try to rebuild this program and change the culture and bring in a lot of good talent and hopefully win more games. But now we've made a switch. So this opportunity at Houghton came up, and being from upstate New York, knowing what Houghton stands for, knowing the academic reputation Houghton has, getting to meet all the people I've met in this interview process, it was became very clear to me that this was supposed to be the next step in my basketball coaching career. And as has been the case with the other ones, it's a building opportunity and one that I really look forward to taking on.
And you mentioned your faith being important to you. Talk us a little bit about that, how you came to Christ, maybe how your relationship kind of informs your daily life, and what does it mean to be a Christian basketball coach, if there is such a term?
Yeah. I think that's a very good way to put it, because I think early on in my coaching career, I was a basketball coach who was a Christian, and I felt like I was good cop in a lot of situations, and yet I wasn't who I was supposed to be. Much like when I was a player, I had come to know the Lord when I was younger. My mom came to know the Lord after a stillborn baby, very painful situation, but was led to the Lord. And I grew up in the church in third grade, understood the gospel, and felt like I made a faith profession at that time. But then I really lived a life of selfishness. Athletics really took over in my life, and I was not who I should be on the court, to be honest. Wasn't proud of who I was. And then at the intermission of a Newsboys concert that I was working, I wasn't really even attending it. I was just kind of working it for my good deed, if you will. I heard an evangelist from Texas named B.J. Phillips talk about the pain of the crucifixion, and it just gripped me. I realized I had spent my life myself, and Jesus laid everything down and invited me into the same, and I really hadn't taken him up on it. And so I decided at that moment that I was going to be different, that I was going to lay down my life for him. And that's when things really dramatically changed, I feel like. And, doesn't change overnight. And unfortunately, as a coach, and once I got out of playing and I started coaching, there was still a lot of competitiveness, a lot of, I want to win. I want to have my identity proven through how well I do as a coach. And so I didn't handle coaching really well. My first few years out, especially the losing part of it when you're trying to build a program. And God really confronted me and asked me, do I treat you the way you treat other people when you mess up? And I was like, no. I was very glad he doesn't treat me the way I treated other people. And so he really transformed both my goals and the way I handle coaching. And now my goals are much more toward excellence, which is one thing I really loved about Houghton, right there on the court, excellence for the glory of God. I think excellence is a much higher calling than winning. And that's what he really started to take me to, that we needed to be excellent, not just on the court, but off the court. And we needed to have a higher goal. And my goal became introducing my players to Christ, mentoring them in Christ. And amazingly enough, you start winning games. I can't explain it, but that after he made that transformation, things got much better on the basketball court too, which is, I think you get the most out of people. And I've been blessed to have a lot of good players who also have the right focus. And so it changed from me being a basketball coach who was a Christian and was affected deeply by whether we won or lost or how guys were playing, and to me being a basketball coach, who was someone who was led by Christ into this profession to not only share the gospel, but to disciple and to show that, we can be a light on the basketball court. We're supposed to be a light everywhere we go. But it shouldn't be, hey, this guy coaches basketball. He happens to go to church and he's a great guy off the floor, but man, I don't want to be around him when he's on the floor. That's not the way it should be. And I praise God he's taken me away from that. I'm not perfect. There's still flesh that rises up, but my goals are different now.
Yeah, talk a little bit about, and this came up during the interview process, the discipleship, the mentorship foundation of who you are as a coach and the importance of that, and building a culture and creating a team and getting everyone on board, and then sending young men out into their lives.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge in athletics is this idea that my identity as a person is tied to my performance or the results of a game, the stats that I put up, what other people think of me. I think you can extend it to a lot of different places, but my wife has even said over and over, boy, there just doesn't seem to be many more places that reveal the character of young men. And I would argue also men and older men like myself, coaches, than athletics. Athletics just really exposes a lot. And I found myself, I could contain my anger, and I could put on the right front, whatever, outside of athletics very easily. But man, competitiveness really drove me to places that were surprising. And I think that's the way it is for a lot of young men. So discipleship for me involves, again, understanding the gospel first and foremost, understanding that our identity is in Christ, and then he covers our failures. Like that right there frees a lot of people. It freed, and I think it freed a lot of players to play in a way that I can worship the Lord. I know I'm going to make a mistake here and there, but he covers that. And the more important thing is, am I allowing him to expose what's inside of me that needs to be changed? So I like to use our practices and our games to just allow people to fail. We still need to recognize that it's failure, but hey, it's covered, it's forgiven, and now we're moving on. And are we noticing the things that are inside of us that aren't good, that need to come out? When we're squeezed, when pressure hits, and it hits a lot in basketball, when pressure squeezes us, what comes out? If you squeeze an orange juice comes out. And you squeeze a grape juice comes out. You squeeze something rotten, and rottenness comes out. And so what am I putting in? And that's part of the discipleship, is we need to be better about what we put in. What are we listening to? What are we, putting in front of us? And what are we considering? What voices are we, saying no to? What voices are we saying yes to? And whatever we ingest and whatever we meditate on, whatever we really think the truth is about ourselves, when pressure hits, that's what's going to come out. And my desire is to have a basketball team that, when pressured, Jesus comes out. And I think you see that in different ways. It doesn't mean you win every game. It doesn't mean that at the end of the day, you might miss that shot at the buzzer. But when that happens, what comes out of you? Is it grace for my teammate? Is it grace for myself? Is it understanding that, well, that didn't go the way I wanted it to, but I'm still saved. I'm still I still have this eternal hope that overrides everything. And so for me, it's very big. It's a hard foundation to lay. It doesn't happen overnight for us to really believe that's the truth. But it's a message that needs to continue to be communicated so that when that pressure hits, good things come out. And then what I found is it gives you an open door to communicate with other people, because people do see that you handle things differently than the world handles them, and want to know, how are your teams composed, or how are your teams fun to play against? Why your team's not dirty, or why your team's not retaliate, why your team's not argue with officials. Like, that should be a light. That should be a light to everyone around, and that's my goal, is to have a team that's a light.
Let's transition a little bit to on the court, a little bit of X's and O's. What do you see in this Houghton team, or not specifically the team that's here, but what do you see as potential for Houghton basketball in terms of, you talk about winning is not the only thing, but what do we do? Obviously, historically, we haven't had a winning tradition. What do we do to turn that around and wake up? I'll steal one of your words from the interview process: wake up this sleeping giant. So talk a little bit about basketball.
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of little things. The little things are the foundation for the big things. And the first thing that I believe is that word belief. I believe that this can be a good basketball program, and I'm going to constantly be talking about and sharing that belief with other people, not just our basketball team, but the people who come to our games. Anyone that wants to be a part of Houghton Highlander success on the basketball court has to believe. We have to believe, because there are going to be things that happen that to our eyes or to our mind say, things aren't changing. Like, this is just going to be the way it always was. And you can't live that way and get to where you want to go. So I believe, and I don't just think that's a me belief. I believe God has called me to this place to help see through something that hasn't been done before. We're going to see it through. And I need to find other players that will join me in that belief. So myself, my assistant coaches, my players, and then the fans. And I want it to be a contagious belief. And I think it's one of the most hard things to do. I think it's hard to believe when everything might say or suggest or history says this isn't going to happen. But once you get a hold of that, belief is such a powerful thing. It's so powerful to really be able to absorb discouragement, absorb things that would tell you things are not going to be the same, and yet you see change. And it's really that's the message of the gospel, isn't it? Like, how many times have we looked at a person and said, well, boy, that person is who they are. Like, they're not going to change. And yet Jesus changes them, radically changes them into a totally different person. Well, why can't that be the case for Houghton basketball? Not just from a spiritual, a cultural standpoint, but also from a success standpoint. But you have to believe. There has to be belief. So that's big number one. Number two, that belief should inform perseverance, resilience, a resistance to that discouragement. And those words are very big to me. Like, that resilience word is a very big thing. We're going to be resilient. And while I may not reveal all our X's and O's here, because I don't want any Empire coaches checking this out, getting any tips. I think I can say that my goal for our team is that when they get knocked down, they're going to be resilient. You're going to have a hard time keeping us down. You're going to have a hard time finding our quit button. I like hiding our quit button or putting it as far away from us as we can. And so resilience is a big deal. Resistance and being a team that really knows the opponent and has scouted them and knows what they want to do and trying to take that away. And then to try to find different paths to getting to what we want, because obviously teams want to take our strengths away. So that's a big second thing. Then kind of from a technical, tactical standpoint, I'm a firm believer in analytics. I really love the numbers, and I like where the game has gone in the analytical realm to be able to evaluate who you need to have on the floor when and with who and what you're trying to accomplish. And so you're going to see us really try to bring pieces together, talented young men that offer different things that we need, and piece them together to make a unit that accomplishes something special. And this is going to take some time. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and think that overnight we become, exactly what we want to be. That probably isn't reality. But I do believe that every time you walk into the Nielsen Center or they tune in online to watch a stream, that they're going to see something different. They're going to see a team that is pushing toward that excellence, and I believe will at some point achieve not just an excellence spiritually, but excellence on the floor. You're going to see better defense, and they were pretty. I think Houghton was solid defensively last year in a lot of ways. That was one of their strengths. But then we're also going to see improving excellence on offense, improving execution on offense. And I really believe in a fun, in a building process, you've got to have fun. Like, if it's just all drudgery, that no one wants that. And so I believe in a fun home atmosphere. I'm going to try to do everything I can to make the Nielsen Center a fun place to come watch basketball. We like to put on a show if we do nothing else, right? And so I really want that to be kind of a staple of ours, that fans love to come watch us play at the Nielsen Center, and opponents do not want to step foot in the Nielsen Center. The conference teams have to, but other teams probably may not want to. And that I hope that's a reality.
Yeah. And establishing, you talked about the culture, going back to that, you establish that, then you have to add elements to it. You're bringing in players in the recruiting process. From a culture standpoint, and also from a basketball standpoint, how do you evaluate players in the recruiting process and bring in the ideal fit for what Houghton needs, both for the campus and for the team culturally, and the team in terms of what their skill sets are?
Yeah. So those intangibles have to be present here early on. And again, I'm inheriting a roster, and there are going to be people that I have to convince to take those things on. But then my recruits that I'm going to be bringing in, I'm looking very carefully at, are these resilient players? Are these players that are contagious in their belief and in their consistency and their perseverance and their resilience? How do they handle discouragement? Like, when I'm asking players for game video, full game video, if they're reaching out to me, or I found them and I've seen a little bit about you, but I want to see more. I specifically asked them, I want to see the game that you guys lost really badly. I want to see your 20-point loss. That's the game I want. And just so I can see, how are they playing through that adversity? So those little things matter a ton to me in the recruiting process. And the guys I bring in, I want to be believers and contagious, perseverant, resilient believers that are going to just keep getting back up in it, and that will help their teammates get up with them. So that's a huge, huge piece. Second thing is, like I mentioned, analytically, we have certain weaknesses at Houghton that I need to get turned around. And so I'm going to be looking for specific players that fit those things. And maybe we need less turnovers. So we're going to be bringing in ball handlers. Maybe we were weak in the rebounding area. So I'm going to need to bring in some guys that can really chase down boards and get us extra possessions. So everyone's going to know that they're coming in for a specific purpose. They're going to have a role. Hey, I need you to be this guy. I need you to be doing these things. And then while each guy brings in maybe a different piece to the puzzle that makes us great as a whole, we should all have that underlying existing belief and resilience and so on. The thing that I really think I have to know that they're going to be part of, that this is kind of like the non-negotiable, if you will, is I really believe they have to be willing to join our culture of life. And that's really the thing that I want to be the one thing that everyone knows about our basketball team, that we love, that we invest, that we fight, and that we excel. That's what life stands for me when it comes to Hope basketball. So I need to know that they're not about loving just themselves, that they're not about just investing in themselves, that they're not about just fighting for their own playing time and success, and then they're not just about excelling for their own good. Like, I want them to be loving God, loving others, investing in the relationship with God, investing in others, fighting for his good and fighting for others, and then excelling for his glory and excelling for the benefit of others. And I think if we have a team full of guys that are doing that, along with coaches that are doing that, it's going to be a fun team to be part of, and I think we'll progress.
Tell me a little bit about basketball in the Bialek household. You have a large family. What's it like in terms of are they all your boys and girls the fans of the same teams? Do they all what's it like in your household?
Yeah, well, it's competitive. We have some good competitive games, I'll tell you that. A lot of Sundays we'll just kind of go to the gym and shoot around and play some 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 or whatever. And to be honest, I'm still, my wife is still making sure I'm not, trash talking my own kids. Or they tell me I'm old and I can't shoot anymore, and so it's fun though. It's a real blast, especially like during the pandemic. We still were able to play like a bunch of things like football, wiffle ball, and basketball. Just about everybody plays basketball. I mean, pretty much everybody has played on a basketball team in the Bialek household. Some of them care about it more than others. And they want to do it the right way, which is fun. I enjoy the fact they want to play the game the right way. And I think they're really good teammates, to each other and then on the teams that they play on. But we do have a lot of fun competing, and it's something that they always want to get together and do. And I really enjoy being able to play with my kids and try to prove to them I still can hoop a little bit. That's still a goal. But it also is a fun way for me to stay in shape. So that's cool. But yeah,
we have something we call noon ball here, and it's died down in recent years. So we need some help. We need some more influx of talent so this is for the older crowd. So break up.
Okay. Hey,
so
I think Matt said something to me about it, or somebody said something about noon ball, and I thought, that must be like a noon pickup game or something. So I'm there. I'm there. I'm ready to go, and it'll help me maybe compete better against my kids on a regular basis. But
that sounds good. Well, thanks for your time. We're gonna close this off with a lightning round. These are 10 questions, hard hitting, very deep questions, but you can't think about them too much. Okay. You got to respond off your head. So we'll go. Right? Are you ready?
Yes.
Favorite ice cream?
Vanilla.
Favorite childhood TV show?
Ooh, probably Emergency.
Favorite sports movie?
Hooters.
Texting or talking?
Should be talking, but I do a lot of texting.
Favorite holiday?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna have to. I can't give you one right off the bat, but I'll probably go. I'm gonna say Christmas.
Very good. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Dog. How many cups of coffee do you drink a day?
probably minimum 1, sometimes 3.
Number one thing on your bucket list?
To swim with whales, to swim with humpback whales.
Very good. NBA or college?
As far as which one I like
Basketball,
to watch more,
yeah.
I like both. But I'll say the NCAA tournament's probably slightly more fun to watch than the NBA finals.
All right. And so this last one should be pretty easy for you, but there's potential for a misstep, and I don't want to have any issues, but you don't got a lot of time. Names of your kids from oldest to youngest.
Oh, that's easy. Watch me mess this up. Allie, Jer, JD, Jonah, Annalisa, Jordan, Jacob, Judah, Josiah, Jamin, and Amelia. Did I miss anyone? Did I just reel them off? I feel like I
very good. And the boys are J's and the girls are A's. Is there?
Yeah, so my entire family, my parents named us all J's, and I thought I would at least like to have my boys be J's. We named our first daughter Allie, which is short for Alice, after my grandmother. And at one point she asked, because my wife's name is Julie, why am I the only A in the family? She was younger. And we said, you know what, we'll name any other daughters, we have A's. And so that's why we have the A's for the girls and J's for the guys.
Very good. Coach, I appreciate your time. And I know you have a busy next 30 days or so, and then stepping right in. What's the plan for the next 30 days? What's Team Bialek doing?
Yeah, Team Bialek is trying to find a house right now in the Houghton area, and we're looking forward to where God's going to put us there. And then we're packing up, which is another challenge. Finishing up Little League. My kids play Little League baseball, so we said we'd finish that up before we left. And on the basketball side, I'm out already, like, recruiting, trying to find future Highlanders and trying to connect with my current players to share the vision of where we're going. So that's kind of the big three, if you will.
Very good. Stick around. We'll do our closing right here, and we'll talk to you in a bit. Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks.